Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cashflow Project podcast. I'm your host, Steve Furios with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, exciting, we've got Michella Chiu on the show. Michella is in real estate. She's the VP of Operations and Marketing for ProMerit Capital, a syndication team that currently owns 600 doors nationwide. Her day job, she works as a marketing director for a global agency that has prestigious clients such as Lego, Samsung, Mars, Johnson & Johnson, and Campbell. So you guys know that she's managing quite a bit of dollars there and marketing budget. And all these companies, through their marketing, generate sales surpassing $100 million. She's got a storied background in her academia. She's having gone to previously for her school. She's alumni of Princeton and Columbia, holding graduate degrees from both institutions. And she's also served as the vice president of the Princeton Alumni Club of Washington. But we're going to talk about real estate today. So I'm definitely excited to have Michella on the show. Michella, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me. And hi, all. Lovely to be talking with you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on the show. I'm glad we can make this work. And we had a little bit of back and forth, and I know you've done some travel recently, so definitely glad to have you on. But yeah, so for those of our listeners, obviously you've got a ton of background in marketing, and I'm sure that you got a ton of stories there. But give us a little bit of insight into your background into real estate, and really just kind of your background in general, and just to getting going in the professional space for those of our listeners who may not be familiar with who you are, met you at a conference or doing networking or anything like that. Give us a little bit about your background.
Right. I'm Michella Chiu. I am a multifamily investor. I currently work as a VP of ProMerit Capital, and I lead all the marketing and operations work there at the syndication group. So as mentioned, I'm still keeping my W-2 job as a marketing director of a global agency. And before all of these, I have a very untidy, or I should say, quite untidy career trajectory. And I previously had an academic research career, and there was even a short period of time I worked in an immigration law firm as a paralegal. But everything is working out very well for me. I'm consistently finding myself picking up different parts of my past different careers and building everything into the success of a multifamily operations right now. So yeah, I am very grateful for this untidy trajectory.
Yeah, that's usually a lot of our background for most of us investors doesn't always come from the same, oh, hey, for generations, our family has been in real estate and we're a long line of entrepreneurs and business owners. But yeah, I do want to dive into it because I know we've kind of had some off the air conversation about that, because I know you didn't initially come from the Pacific Northwest. So you came from a different place, and kind of fill us in a little bit about some of that in your background.
That is correct. I was born and raised 12 hours away from Seattle. By the way, guys, 12 hours on a flight. She
didn't load up a van and just drive 12 hours away, because some of our listeners might be like, hey, I'm in Texas. It's about 12 hours.
Right now, we have to clarify this really, right? I'm 12 hours away from Seattle. I was born and raised in a place called Hong Kong, which was formerly a British colony. I think I got really fortunate to be born and raised in that part of the world, because a lot of us receive an English education. And I mean, not taking English as a language class, but the primary medium of instruction you get everywhere in all your classes. And that really opens your doors to a lot of opportunities in foreign countries when you're moving elsewhere. We all say that language is a key that opens your door and your horizon to a lot of things. And this is absolutely true for we people who are born and raised in Hong Kong. So yeah, I still have a lot of family members around the world. My own sister is currently residing in Switzerland, and I'm here in the States by myself. I'm married to an software engineer who is boring and who likes to stay in the house, but no complaints about that at all as well. I have a very cute 7-year-old cat who is keeping us company. The only thing is that she is always begging for food.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can bring the cat on. That's good. No, at this point. No, that's awesome. I always appreciate people who do have a different background because a lot of times, and I've heard this before, and I've experienced this before with other past guests or just other investors in general. There's something about, let's say, having the exposure to a different background, a different country, a place that does business a little differently, and cultural differences. I feel like it gives us a unique perspective. Sometimes that's your unfair advantage, right? As real estate investors, we are looking for some kind of unfair advantage. A lot of times that's through just identifying opportunities that maybe the typical investor is not seeing or the typical business owner is not seeing. But sometimes even just having that little different angle of attack, that angle of approach that's not traditional, I think can give us a huge leg up. I've heard it called the immigrant edge, and just understanding that we have additional opportunities here that I'll be honest with you, sometimes we take for granted. Those of us that have grown up here, we don't always see it as, oh, you know what? Well, my state just kind of sucks for investing, or my city is just not a good one. And I guess I'm not an investor. And it's, oh, that's such a short-sighted way to look at things. We take it for granted. And so that's the only reason I wanted to kind of highlight you coming from a different place, because you've obviously become very successful in the things that you're doing. But I like when people have kind of a different lens to be able to see opportunity, to be able to see business operations. And whatnot. So that's awesome.
Okay.
Oh, there's your cat. Oh, awesome.
Right. I think I'm so sorry, guys. I think she wants to be with me, so I'll have her with me if you don't mind.
It's fine. Totally fine. What's your cat's name? I'll say that.
Oh, so her name is Cynee, Cynee. I actually don't know why she has that name. It came from her previous owners. Maybe that is a short form or another cute form of Cynthia, for example. So I will see. The special part about her is that she has a beauty mark on her face. So maybe she should be Madeline, actually. Marilyn.
Marilyn Monroe. Well, yeah, just to kind of jump back into some of your background. Now, obviously, you came to the US, you've been going to school. You weren't going to school necessarily in the Pacific Northwest, you were in the Northeast. And then so you've seen even different parts of the country. So even in that in and of itself, right, being in the US, you've had some different exposure to some different things. How did you go from, because you've got an extensive background, let's say in marketing, was that something that you had a mind for where you're like, oh, you know what, I want to go here in marketing. I know that can be successful doing that. I want to dive there. And then I want to transition a little bit more later to how that turned into real estate syndication. I mean, it'd be easy enough for her to say, well, okay, well, I was doing well in my marketing job and I bought some rentals. Okay. But that's not necessarily the case for you. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your marketing background and how you got started there.
Right. So I originally come to the States for grad school, and I originally wanted to become a history professor. But later on, I discovered that I no longer want that anymore because I don't want to write a book that only 5 people in this world are going to read. So I found a great home in marketing because it's truly utilizing my left brain and my right brain. And I think even though I become a very data-driven person, or I should say, I grow to become a very data-driven marketing professional, I found time and again, I am still utilizing my strengths as a historian. For example, storytelling and trend observation are definitely my strengths. I am still bringing this part of my brain a lot into my marketing work and also my real estate work. So, for example, now when I am doing underwriting, which is something I am very fond of, I always have a component of doing extensive market research, looking into both quantitative data and qualitative data. And I think this macro view of a market health utilizing government big data has really helped us succeed in multifamily in many different ways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And especially if you've had a background working with, let's say, some of these global companies, again, the access that they have to data, right? And how you're used to looking at that to determine market trends, having that larger kind of a step back from and evaluating kind of the macro perspective. Yeah, that's an invaluable lens to view things through, and then understanding how to not only utilize, but interpret the data that's coming through. Right. I mean, these are not companies that are servicing only a local market, right? You take somebody like Mars, right? I mean, most of you guys know them as, okay, well, hey, that's a Mars bar, right? Like it's candies. It's okay. Well, I can guarantee you go to just about any country, any corner of the world, you're going to find some product that they deliver, right? So they're looking at a huge scale, right? And so that I think, right, that in and of itself provides you with an unfair advantage, right? In terms of being able to evaluate, underwrite, okay, how can we extrapolate some of this data and apply it to where we can use it on a local level? Because eventually that's what it boils down to, right? You want to take a look back, take a step back, see the big picture, and then, okay, how can we zoom in now and use that in, let's say you're underwriting your deals and do market projections and take a look at the market fundamentals to identify those opportunities. So yeah, no, that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, that's great. And it's great that you identified that too. And I'm just kind of taking notes as we're talking. Something that's huge, like being able to understand and identify, let's say, your strengths, right? And even the fact that okay, hey, I know I can use my left and my right brain here. Most of us are not thinking that way, right? We're so used to operating, let's say, in the creative space, or we're operating with the logical side, where we don't, okay, well, how can I engage both of these, right? How can I play to my strengths and utilize the skill sets, not only that you picked up along the way, but also the knowledge that you have about yourself. I think that's great. And then playing to those strengths as well.
Right. And I think another thing I really want to highlight, by working with these global giants in the consumer packaged goods world, is that it really, really trains you to manage complex projects that involves a lot of stakeholders. I think it really, because even writing an email to communicate with different stakeholders and to manage expectations of different parties, it is easily a 30-minute or 45-minute job for one end. And that is because it is not the writing part that is challenging, but rather the thinking behind it, and also working backwards from what your stakeholders want from you, and design the communication in a way that thinking about what they should know first before the next, to make sure that all the stakeholders are in alignment. I think that kind of training from the corporate America world in general is invaluable, especially if you're involved in multifamily or even fix and flips, because it all comes down to day-to-day operations, tidy workflows, and also clear communication for everyone who is working with you.
Yeah, no, 100%. And again, you're bringing in an organizational structure that is worlds beyond what the average, let's say, fix and flipper is doing, right? Because most people are just, okay, well, I want to get into real estate. Okay, cool. Well, what do I need to do, right? And maybe they go pick up a deal from a wholesaler or something like that, but they're not used to working kind of at this big scale that has very clear SOPs and very clear organization, right? That's just not the case. And so, I mean, some eventually will ramp up to that, like some that have strong entrepreneurial skills, administrative gifts, and that skill set. But that's always typically a learned thing as they ease into it, right? It's like you're solving the problem as they go. Whereas you're coming from the opposite end and saying, look, well, I've seen this done at the highest of levels, right? With companies who have these massive marketing budgets and have global reach. Well, how can I scale that down, right? To have me something that translates to the fix and flip, that translates to a complex multifamily deal, right? That's like, well, complex in terms of term complex, right? Like multifamily, but it's quite simple compared to how many moving parts that you have on a global operation that we're used to dealing with some of these companies. But like I said, I think that's an invaluable skill set. Plus, too, you've learned to implement it. A lot of people get stuck in their W-2. So kudos to you, because you're just, I'm comfortable. I'm managing this massive, working for these global brands. I don't need to move on. You know, what was the impetus for you to say, you know what, I should do more with this, right? What kept you from being comfortable and staying just working in the W-2 only? Because you could do that, right? What was the prompting to kind of move beyond that?
Right. Great question. And I appreciate that. I actually started investing in residential real estate around 5 years ago in Seattle. At that time, appreciation in this market is crazy. We can easily get appreciation, which is equivalent to 17 to 20 years of cash flow combined within 2 to 3 years at that time. And I actually spent quite some time taking a pause in the middle, stabilizing my W-2 job, and also taking care of my personal matters. And then I came back deciding that, I want to do real estate again, restart my engine in the end of 2022. And I discovered that I came back to a completely different market where all expecting an interest rate increase that would require us to change our strategy and to think of a new way that will make this thing work. And that is the time I think about multifamily for economies of scale.
Yeah. And again, your mind is already thinking that way, right? Because you started off, let's say residential and kind of working kind of the typical way that most people would go into real estate, where, hey, fix and flip, long-term buy and holds, just kind of maybe ones and twos. But then your mind is probably already wanting to go, man, we need some scale here, right? And you identified what was happening in the market too. And a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people are just, hey, you know what? Okay, well, I'm just going to buy this long-term rental. I'll cash flow this $100 a door that I'm following the 1% rule on, and I'll just sit on this thing for the next 30 years and whatever. Okay, sure, that works. But you had the wherewithal to be able to stop and say, no, okay, the market has shifted here. How can we best position yourself to be able to make a pivot and look at a strategy that's going to be more scalable, right? Because you understood scale already. So that's great.
Right. Now, when I think about it, it's a very important finance or investing 101 lesson that actually comes from my parents. Because Hong Kong is actually a high appreciation market as well. I admit real estate just feels right for me. I grow up around it because my parents built their wealth by investing in properties. But I think one of the most important lessons I get from their trajectory is that they have experienced switching from investing in warehouses to residential properties, doing a market shift that really highlighted the importance of understanding trends and adapting your investing strategy around it. So I would describe myself for sure as someone who is really fortunate to be able to see a good demonstration or example of how this thing should be done from my own parents. And this is an opportunity for me. I learned a lot from them. And now, finally, as an adult, I totally understand now what I have experienced and now following their footsteps.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I'm glad that you had that too. So this, for our listeners or people who are tuning in, don't neglect even just leading by example. If you're investing in real estate, hey, your kids are picking it up, even if you're not necessarily sitting down and teaching them. Michella, her parents may not have been kind of, okay, hey, this is how commercial warehouse space works, Michella, 7, 8, 9 years old, however, whatever age that you were, right? But simply by being in proximity, you're gleaning from them, right? You're taking, oh, okay, hey, oh, people own those warehouses, right? Because we get that a lot, right? It's, wait, you can buy a commercial building? Yeah, somebody owns it. You can be a part of that, right? And usually that mental transition from residential to commercial, I always feel like is a big shift for a lot of people who aren't used to working in that space. So yeah, again, just encouragement to our listeners: be involved, be active, because it's not just for you. You will benefit, of course, personally, but people are watching. Your kids are watching. Your family members are watching. So yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, then, so tell me a little bit more now about your current, let's say, operations. Now, you guys have scaled to 600 doors currently, multiple markets right across the U.S. How did you pivot into working just the residential space into what sounds like a pretty rapid ramp up into the commercial space? Tell us a little bit about your transition into multifamily.
Right. So I was originally a member of Pace Morby's mentorship program. And I think it is the content, is it being in the right room that really encourages me to think what inside the world of real estate that I would like to do. And eventually I decided that with my corporate background, I actually have a potential to grow something by having that business operations mindset, and multifamily is a right fit for it. Yeah, I eventually identified this GP, Dr. Yinker Holt of Primary Capital, who is very open to teaching younger people how to do this, because her 0 to 1 was also very difficult for her. And she is a woman originally from Nigeria, so she's an immigrant to this country as well. So I really appreciate her opening the doors for a lot of women investors and operators in this country who is like very interested in building something to themselves. So now I am working very closely with her, supporting the team in all the business and operations work. And it is interesting that this is also the time that she would like to scale her business further. So this is actually the right time to get a business integrator, which, to be honest, for people who are just starting, maybe working with a business integrator may or may not be the best fit for them right off the bat. But yes, I think in some, I joined a good team at the right time and that allows me to totally apply what I've learned from the corporate America world. So I am very fortunate in this regard.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, again, you said multiple things there that are so key. For one, you join a mentorship group, right? You join somebody, hey, look, give me some exposure to something I don't already know. I know corporate, I know kind of systems, I know the value of that. Okay, how do we make that work? Let's say within the confines of real estate and what's possible? Because what you think is possible, again, because you heard your cousin or your uncle or your coworker or whoever, what was the right investing fit for them may not be the right fit for you, right? If you have Michelle obviously has a skill set, underwriting, systems, right? Business integration. She's got a skill set on that end of things. So you need to take stock personally to identify, well, what am I good at, right? Are you good with people? Okay, awesome. Maybe you can go out and do where you can raise capital, right? You can be a great networker. You can be an integrator that way. Maybe you also too love the numbers. So then that's great. You're a CPA or you just love the numbers of things and you can underwrite deals all day long. Great. That has a fit. And I love Pace's, not to have any plug for Pace necessarily, but he is the best I've ever seen at helping to identify individuals into what their strengths are and being able to fit those pieces together, just like a puzzle, right? If you have a 50-piece puzzle, well, guess what? You need all 50 of those pieces to make that whole picture work, right? So he's great, I think, at helping individuals to understand, hey, you're good at raising capital. Okay, go for it. You go do that. You're good at running numbers. Awesome. You do that. Hey, you're a contract. Okay, cool. You do that piece. And together, everybody's greater, right? You're all individually serving the team and you're better together going that route. So yeah, so definitely, to Michelle's point there, in terms of seeking mentorship, seeking groups who can help you think bigger, better, just different, maybe than you're used to thinking. Absolutely vital. Absolutely vital. And then that's the one thing I learned early on too, be in the right rooms. Right. I get it, guys. If it may be not very comfortable to pay for some of these, because any of these coaching groups, a lot of times there's a price to it. Right. But think of the price a lot of times that you're missing out on. There's an opportunity cost. If you don't learn a new skill set, if you're not learning how to look at deals, to make connections, you too will pay. That also has a cost. Right. And so depending on what you want to do long term, if you want to grow, level up, be in rooms with people like Michelle, who's comfortable, going across the globe, going across the country, right? Networking, coming on a podcast here. And she's, get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Stretch your comfort zone, right?
This is a very, very big thing in my life, to the point that I describe myself, maybe I have ADHD. I don't know. For certain time, certain numbers of years after I do something, I want to do something new. So I hop from one career to another to another.
Oh yeah. And I've seen that time and time again. Honestly, the most successful people that I've had on the show, it's the first to fail forward, right? It's the first to failure. Hey, okay, I'm going to try something that maybe it's not a good fit for me. Okay, that's okay. Identify that, cut ties immediately, or cut whatever it is that you're doing that's not working. But don't just completely discard it. Hey, what can I learn from that about both the job, the position, and what can I learn from myself, right? Okay, I'm not the greatest at that. Okay, that's fine. Let's go move on to the next thing, right? And then that helps to put you out into a new situation where you're going to pick up new skill sets, where you're going to be uncomfortable. And let's be honest, you put the Pareto principle into play, the vast majority of people are not going to do that, right? So that leads to lots of success for you, the listener, for Michelle, for anybody who's willing to take action. You're already in the minority, right? So that reduces the competition there.
Right.
So that's great.
One thing I would like to highlight for our audience as well is that I originally joined the team as a volunteer. Because at that time, I do not have experience in multifamily at all. When I first joined the team, I'm just putting myself out there, trying to learn And I earned my opportunity later through my hard work. Because even though I am not paid, I am a volunteer in the team. I was all in, giving out my time, doing my best, and to show what true potential there is for us to partner together as a team. So it is very true that it is because I have no reserve and I was all in. The team eventually all come together and see the potential of growing something into even bigger, like when we all work together. So it also further boosts everyone's confidence into working even harder onto the goals and dreams they have. So I would say one advice for people who are starting out, or two, I should say. One, if you are lost, if you have shiny object symptom and don't know what to do, always start from something that you are already comfortable with or you have experience in, because your learning curve will be the shortest. And the second thing is that just put yourself out there, no matter you're paid or not, just be all in and the right opportunity and growth will come.
No, that's excellent advice. Even just what you said, what you did, right? It's easy for somebody to look at you and to say, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, she went to Princeton and she went to Harvard. Her family was investing in commercial already or as a kid. Of course she can be successful at it. It's the wrong mindset to have. She's not from this country, right? So she had to get comfortable, be uncomfortable, right? And then you just heard her, guys. She gave up of her time, energy, and effort. What are you doing, right? Besides sitting around saying, "Oh, I wish I could be an investor," right? I wish I could do some of that cool stuff that I see all these other investors doing and taking on big projects and all of that. I could never do that. Watch your words. If you think that you can't do it, then guess what? You're never going to do it. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the energy. You got to get out there, take some action, even if it's not paid, because I can guarantee you that will pay off. That will pay dividends in the long term, right? So that's awesome. Kudos to you. Congratulations. I think that's great advice.
Thanks. Funny enough, I'm not even gonna lie. When I first moved to Seattle from the East Coast to look for a job, I have had recruiters who said they have never heard of the names of my schools.
Okay, interesting.
I think like what I'm trying to say is that don't let that so-called name or product hold you hostage. You still have to prove that you deserve to have a seat at the table. So the backstory is that now I tell friends as a joke that recruiters don't know the names of my school. But at that time, it was really defeating. And I will be crying in front of the computer thinking that I don't deserve an opportunity just to have a job to kickstart my marketing career. So yeah, and it turns out that there are recruiters out there who are more comfortable working with local students, and me, not being a student who received my education in the greater Seattle area, I was actually in a disadvantageous position. So I think this is actually a story that tells you that name is not everything. Your hard work is everything. And there is no definitive answer when it comes to who is going to win and who is going to lose. There really isn't a thing like this.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's awesome. And again, that's a testament to your willingness to be able to be uncomfortable, to get out there, get after it, to put into work, regardless of whether or not, okay, well, hey, in the short term, I may not be getting paid for this. Long term, this will be of great benefit to me, right? If nothing else, you're going to pick up some skill sets and determine whether or not that's going to be a good fit for you. Okay, if it isn't, awesome, move forward. If it is, obviously now you're putting in that into a position as a general partner on the team. So that's awesome. I want to pick your brain just real briefly, and then we'll kind of transition. What do you see? Obviously, your team is working diligently to still underwrite deals and make acquisitions. We've had a lot of changes in the market the last couple of years now with the debt environment, and even now OpEx has really gotten to be a real challenge. Insurance, property taxes have been in the market. You look in the Sun Belt. I know your team is looking in the Sun Belt as well. What kind of challenges and what are you seeing in the marketplace today that maybe we can help some of our listeners kind of be keyed in on, and what kind of things that they should be looking out for or avoiding to help them underwrite and find a good deal?
Our team is currently underwriting around 20 deals every week and trying to submit an LOI at least every other week. The good deals are still going out or sold like hotcakes. And what we discover is that a lot of newcomers or a lot of younger teams or greener teams are actually underwriting deals very, very aggressively to a point that after building some rapport with brokers and after knowing what's the price the winning team is offering, we will all be stretching our head and ask and say, how is the team going to work and make a profit if the price or offered is so high? So I would say that I would yes, if you're just starting in the multifamily syndication world, yes, you have to underwrite not too aggressively, but only to a point that you are losing your screws a little bit just to win a deal. And also, we should be moving very quickly, but at the same time, not to a point that we are just underwriting a deal left and right in order to win a deal, because this market really requires a more, I should say, deeper level of operational success in order to win. So, and the market has changed already. So I think this will be something we have seen in the market right now. And this would probably be a good advice for people who, especially if your team is starting out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even, as I said, this kind of goes back to some of what we were talking about earlier with having an unfair advantage, right? So a couple of different things there, guys, just as you're listening in, they're underwriting 20 deals a week to be able to submit something every other week, right? So you cannot tell me that you're sitting down with one deal. I've looked through so many deals. Well, how many are you underwriting? I can guarantee you're not beating Michella's team, right? If you're not even getting to the point where you can submit on LOI, right? A letter of intent to purchase, right? Those of our listeners that may never keyed in on that. They're underwriting 20 deals, and you can do a level of underwriting that's okay. It's different than underwriting for a flip, right? You need a lot more data. You need a lot more information to be able to do it accurately. And then she's also making mention there about not wanting to be too aggressive. Now, like I said, unless you're very experienced and you're vertically integrated, maybe you can control multiple facets along the way. I think I 100% agree where you cannot be too aggressive in terms of your underwriting, because we're still where we are in the market cycle and just kind of the different dynamic factors that we've got going on. Right now is not the time to be pushing numbers. You're going to be inviting kind of a world of hurt. And they're doing syndications also. And so when you're trusted with other people's capital, you're now held to a much higher standard. All right. So for those of our budding syndicators out there, the operators, always remember that, right? Preservation of capital. These people are trusting you with their life savings at times, or they're investing. They worked very hard for that, right? So you don't take that lightly whenever you take on other people's capital to go in and invest into a deal. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree with your wisdom there, your insight there, Michelle. Well, awesome. Well, at this point of the show, we have a part of our show we call the fire round, just a little bit more rapid fire, a little bit more brief Q&A. Is that something you're up for?
Yep, let's do it.
Awesome. She's excited now. All right. First question. What is the best book that you recommend, other than for a lot of the real estate investors, it's Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? It's the Purple Bible. Do you have a favorite book recommendation that you have that you can recommend to our audience?
Right. I like the best ever syndication book written by Joe Fairless. Yeah. So I think it is a book that has a lot of details about purchasing apartment buildings. And there are a lot of very good advice on red flags and also bad things to avoid. So if you're starting out, or if you are a multifamily investing veteran, I think this is a book that you will be coming back to again and again.
Awesome. Great book recommendation. Yeah. I love Joe. All right. Next question. What would you consider your superpower to be?
Yeah. As mentioned, storytelling and trend observation. And one thing I can expand on regarding storytelling, because I do this in real estate, I do this in my day job as well. I discovered that when it comes to pitches or presentations, a lot of people are just reading out from the slides. That really is not storytelling. I train my team to do presentations, and the most important thing I tell them is that the storyline actually comes out on things that is not written on the slide. because the storyline is actually the most obvious when you successfully make connections between the slides. So those are things that connects the slides, put everything together, but it is not the text you can read out from slides. So if you're looking to become a better presenter, I think this is one thing that you can practice on.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And then and again, guys, this is her handling marketing, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? In terms of massive companies. So this is things that she's learned along the way. So yeah, definitely get better, improve your storytelling if you want to be able to connect with people better. So that's great. All right. And you kind of touched on some of this in our conversation, but what is the biggest lesson that you've learned over your career thus far?
Wow. Be very careful with processes and red flags, because the reason we have to have processes and systems in place sometimes is not to make your life harder, but rather to guard you against things that can potentially kill a deal, and to make sure that you are replicating your success. I've been burned before. There was a time that I invest in a small multifamily deal in Illinois, and it is almost towards the end of the due diligence period, and almost right before closing, that we discovered that there are some problems with the sellers, and the sellers are trying to use us to avoid some of the payments that he should be responsible for. So so at that time we suffer from a financial loss, but it was because if we don't do that, our other investor will be suffering from an even greater loss. So by being responsible for other people's money and to stay to become a trustworthy partner. Of course, I'm using the word partner here. We're not investors, we're partners to other people who are investing together with us. I think we have to take responsibility on some of the errors or mistakes if we have one, and just and grow to become a professional that is very willing to do that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's awesome. And sometimes, guys, that's what it takes, right? This is a very small group, right? This is a small community, right? So once your reputation is everything. So that's something you have to work to maintain, especially when you're dealing with investors and their capital. Again, we take that I mean, just from a legal standpoint, working in syndication, but I mean, just from a character standpoint, again, they're trusting you, right? They're trusting all of us. Just to Michelle's point, they are partners, right? It's in the name, limited partners, general partners, right? We're partners in investing into these deals. They're not just, hey, well, you're an investor that can just you should know what you're doing, and you got to be willing to lose that capital. It's just a wrong approach to have. So, sharing that story, that's a huge testament to your guys' character. And that happens, guys. There's a lot of stuff that for every deal that you end up actually seeing, there's so many deals that don't end up penciling. We may go through due diligence, they fall out if you never saw them. And we may have taken losses on those just to get them to that point and understand that it was not a deal that we felt comfortable moving forward to present to our partners. So that's that. Please don't dismiss that. So yeah, no, Michelle's definitely telling the truth. I've really enjoyed our conversation. If some of our investors, our listeners, if they want to reach out and they want to touch base with you, they want to find out what you guys have going on, and they just want to learn more about your story, what's the best way for them to be able to do that?
Well, easy. Scan this QR code here on the screen. That's my contact information. And I welcome anyone to book a call with me on steadyworkcapital.com. I actually have a lot of people who book calls with me just to know about my work and to get advice on multifamily investing. So on our website, we also now have a multifamily deal evaluation toolkit for LP investors, which allows you to take a look into all the questions you should be asking before you invest. So if you're interested in getting that, you can go to promarycapital.com under the tab for resources. You leave us your email address, you'll be able to download that.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to revisit with you in the future, circle back and see what kind of progress your team has made. We're expecting, if you guys have 600 doors now, then next time I talk to you, you should have easily 2,000. So we'll touch base.
We will see. And well, this is a tricky market, but one thing I will put it out there. Thank you, Steve. this is a multi-billion-dollar industry that everyone will have a chance to win because the opportunity is enormous. And that also explains, I totally believe that we don't have to be selfish because we can totally create a win-win situation for everybody when this industry is so huge.
That's the winner's mindset right there. And there's so many people who do not share that mindset. So guys, if you're not thinking like that, where there's and you should see it, there's opportunity everywhere. It really is. There's enough for all of us to be able to win. So yeah, great reminder from Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for sharing that with us and our listeners. I really appreciate you coming on to the show today. We'll have to circle back with you in the future. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Aloha.
Thank you. Bye for now.
All right. Awesome conversation with Michella Chiu with ProMerit Capital. She's got a great story. Again, coming over as an immigrant from Hong Kong. Great background in terms of obviously high level academia, but again, it's really not just that. It's all of her grit and her grind, the being able to see opportunity, being able to look at it with that lens of, hey, there really is opportunity for all of us out there, not overlooking those things, and actually also committing the hard work to be able to put in the time, to be a part of a team, to learn more and put herself out there. A great episode with Michelle. Guys, if you're interested in investing with us, go to tricityequity.com to learn more about our team and the things that we've got going on, prior projects, and we'd love to be able to stay connected with you. If you're local and you want to come out to our local meetups, we have them every month. It's a beautiful venue. It's an awesome way to connect with other like-minded investors and really to be in that right room, right? To level up your game, level up your mindset, right? To be able to learn new things, learn things that you maybe didn't think were possible, or hey, maybe you have something to offer to the people in attendance. And so we need to be able to hear from you. So we'd love to see you out at the next meetup. You can find us on Facebook, Honolulu Multifamily and more, meetup.com, Bigger Pockets, any of those different formats. And again, guys, if you guys are finding value in the show, give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you're subscribing, sharing the show. We'd love to be able to continue to grow the audience, bring all these interviews to more and more listeners, and bring more value to you guys. And then, of course, we've got the conference coming up super fast, July 10th through the 13th, Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference. Again, it is the best conference on the island, in the state, for entrepreneurship, real estate investing, really whatever it is that you need in order to succeed in those different fields. We're going to have top-notch operators coming in, people from different services that can help to provide your business more value. So make sure you're making plans to attend. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Go out and take some action. Be bold. Learn something new. Get out of your comfort zone. And we'll see you on the next one. Aloha.